Dr. Pacher, thank you very much for joining us within the framework of this year's colloquium. On the occasion of the 50th anniversary of the foundation of the International Society for Rock Mechanics, we would like to talk to you about the early history of the society and learn more about its origins. Let me first of all thank you and the board of the Austrian Society for Geomechanics for the invitation. I feel greatly honored that you still trust my memory, and I will do my best to answer your questions. According to the archives of the Austrian Society for Geomechanics, the International Society for Rock Mechanics was founded on May 25, 1962, in Salzburg, at the Hotel Europa. On that occasion, you presented a report summarizing the activities of the International Working Group on Geomechanics, which had already been established in 1951. As we learned from that report, the 8 founding members, who met on the 15th of June, 1951, to set up the International Working Group on Geomechanics, included some names that are well known to this very day, such as Müller and Stini. In your report, you also noted that 16 participants attended the first colloquium in 1951. The last one, organized by the working group, that must have been 1961, had a total of 230 participants. My first question to you, Dr. Pacher: what was it that motivated the founding members to establish the new society? From the outset, they took an international approach. Even the former working group on geomechanics had members and participants from the United States, Great Britain, the Scandinavian countries, and France. Before I go into detail, let me tell you a little story. It all began in Salzburg. There was an engineering office specializing in geology and construction technology, a rather modest establishment owned and run by Professor Müller, or rather Dr. Müller. He was not professor yet. Based on his practical experience, he realized that Austria would be faced with problems of hydraulic engineering and transport infrastructure construction that cannot be solved with the rules of soil mechanics alone. Therefore, he started to develop rock mechanics as a discipline of its own. Taking a non-bureaucratic approach, he simply invited experts in civil engineering and related subjects from different countries to a meeting in his flat to discuss further steps to be taken. Salzburg was agreed to be the venue, and a colloquium appeared to be the most promising format for the presentation of findings and for mutually enriching discussions. This led to the foundation of the International Working Group on Geomechanics, with experts from outside Austria participating from the very beginning. Over the years, the colloquium attracted more and more participants. A new framework had to be found, and the International Society for Rock Mechanics was established. It was not before 1968, with the colloquium already well established, that the Austrian Society for Rock Mechanics was founded, which was later renamed the Austrian Society for Geomechanics, The change of name was found to be necessary, as rock mechanics was too narrow a discipline and did not cover everything one needs to know when building a tunnel or a large dam.
Das Bauen im Fels, die Umsetzung alles Wissens, dass man die Tunnel und die Talsperren richtig bauen konnte.
From that time on, the International Society adopted its own independent course of development. Mr. Rocha from Spain and his Portuguese colleague were instrumental in organizing the first International Congress on Rock Mechanics in Madrid. Subsequently, the International Society met at intervals of several years, while the Austrian Society held its colloquia on an annual basis. My next question, how did the colloquia evolve from the beginning up to the 1960s, and what was their contribution to the development of rock mechanics? The first lectures were mostly about projects the speakers themselves were involved in. Dr. Müller was very active in hydropower plant construction in northern Italy, and Director Smazena from SAID, the Adriatic Energy Corporations, was one of the participants. The other participants came from an Institute of Mining, the Forschungsgemeinschaft Neumühl, representatives of Bayernkraftwerke reported about their experience in hydropower plant construction. Close contacts also existed with Professor Fairhurst from the University of Minnesota, the editor of the Quarterly of the Colorado School of Mines. A great deal happened around 1964. The disaster near Fréjus, where a dam collapsed due to foundation design errors, and the Vaillant Dam disaster caused by a landslide along a prehistoric layer which slid into the reservoir. This led to enormous material damage and claimed human lives.
Prähistorischer Rutschfläche in den schon gefüllten Stauraum rutschte, große Sachbeschädigungen anrichtete und zahlreiche Todesopfer forderten. Das gab große Impulse.
These accidents stimulated further developments in rock mechanics. For the first time, the true dimension of the problems encountered was understood. At the same time, the new Austrian tunneling method, as Rabchevich called it, was introduced in 1964, with shotcrete used for fast and safe tunnel lining. The method proved its merits both in Austria and abroad. From then on, discussions in rock mechanics focused mainly on dam construction and tunneling.
Dies wurde sowohl in Österreich als auch in ausländischen Staaten propagiert und ab diesem Zeitpunkt gab es zwei Schwerpunkte in der Felsmechanik, nämlich Talsperrenausbau und Hohlraumbau.
How did the international cooperation in the field of rock mechanics develop at that time? The colloquia attracted growing international interest, with participants from Japan, the United States, France, and other countries attending. Many new topics were covered in the lectures. The achievements in rock mechanics led to new methods of advanced underground exploration, using TV logging, echo sounding devices, etc. At the theoretical level, the finite element method led to further progress. Finally, sophisticated measuring instruments were developed that allowed engineers to take ad hoc measurements in the tunnel and to obtain instant information on the site and extent of deformation in the tunnel wall, and this greatly facilitated their decisions about what to do next.
Also FE-Methode und Computer zusammen ermöglichten zum Beispiel die Tragkraft vom Widerlagern zu berechnen, was früher fast nicht möglich war. Abschließend möchte ich noch sagen, dass auch die Messtechnik einen großen Aufschwung nahm. Sie wurde ja gefordert und es kam zu sogenannten Ad-Hoc-Messungen. Das heißt, Man konnte im Tunnel sofort messen und sofort sagen, in welcher Größenordnung und an welchen Orten hat sich die Leibung nach innen verformt. Das war natürlich herrlich für die Entscheidung, was tun wir weiter.
Another advantage of this measurement system was that starting from any fixed point of reference, like an abutment, it was possible to permanently monitor slopes that were prone to landslides in the area of the reservoir, and therefore to continually assess whether dangerous displacements might occur or not. This led to a substantial increase in the safety for the people living in the affected area. Dr. Pacher, was rock mechanics recognized as a discipline in its own right by civil engineers and the public at large? Did the state provide any financial support for the colloquia and for the research in the field of rock mechanics in Austria? After the first 10 to 15 years, rock mechanics was well established at research institutes and technical universities, both in Austria and abroad. At the beginning, only a few courses were available, but then Professor Müller was offered a chair in Karlsruhe. Geomechanik de Roche by Mr. Talobre was published in France. In brief, rock mechanics had found the recognition it deserves. At the ministerial level, Austria reacted to the dam disasters by setting up a commission on dams to monitor all large structures from the design stage to completion. Moreover, an institution was established which inspects large structures for their stability and operational safety every 5 years.
Und dazu noch eine Institution geschaffen, die alle 5 Jahre die großen Bauwerke auf Stand- und Prüfsicherheit und Betriebssicherheit prüft.
I myself was a member of that body for 30 years. As regards funding, however, things do not look so good. We never received any financial support, and we never even applied, which is just as well, since it allowed the colloquium to retain its independence. We have always been able to do things our way.
Die Kolloquium, die Österreichische Gesellschaft für Geomechanik, ist daher unabhängig geblieben, wurde nicht irgendwo angehängt. Wir können frei schaffen, wie wir wollen.
As regards public opinion, we hardly ever get any TV or radio coverage. Thank God for that. And we have found a home with Professor Schubert at the University of Graz. In your opinion, what has been achieved, or not yet achieved, in the field of rock mechanics? Looking back to our beginnings, I would think we have achieved everything Professor Müller had in mind, except for an institution dedicated to testing in rock in a way similar to testing in soil mechanics. Admittedly, this is not easy. 2 large-scale shear tests were done, one of them at the Kariba Dam and the other one at the Kurobi Dam. TVAG have developed their radial press to determine the modulus of elasticity of a rock mass. Some attempts have been made, but a large-scale experiment to show what is really happening in a rock mass has never been performed. We have more theories than empirical knowledge. The Salzburg colloquium has grown like a tree, with diverse subjects as its branches, and an overriding commitment to continuity and quality. I would hope that the Austrian society would continue along these lines, and I wish all participants an interesting colloquium.
Auch dadurch, dass man jährlich das, was man gehört hat, auch schwarz und weiß nach Hause tragen darf. Und letztes die Qualität, abgesehen von der Schönheit Salzburg. Ich möchte also wünschen, dass es sich weiter in der Richtung entwickelt, dass die österreichische Gesellschaft für Geomechanik so bleibt und noch viele Jahre, viele Kolloquien abhalten kann.
Dr. Pacher, thank you very much for the interview.
Sehr gerne.
Thanks a lot. It's been a pleasure for me.